How's it going, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to my channel, The Cosmic Wonder, where we talk about all things relating to the MCU. And today we have a full plot leak, a supposed plot leak for Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, it's pretty tricky when it comes to plot leaks. There have been many different plot leaks for many different movies and shows over time. However, some of them have been true. And today's plot leak comes from 4chan by somebody who claims to be working on the film currently. Now, this is the same place where we got the accurate plot leak for Infinity War and Endgame. It was posted on 4chan. I did a video about both of them, Infinity War and Endgame, and they both ended up being true. And if a true plot leak was going to pop up, it would pop up on 4chan because it's anonymous. And I have to tell you, this plot leak seems very, very real. So if you do not want to know anything about Thor: Love and Thunder, including the villain that Christian Bale is going to be playing in the movie, Jane Foster's role as Lady Thor, the Guardians of the Galaxy in the film as well, and anything else, this is your official spoiler warning. If you are new, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all content relating to the MCU, and so you can enter my giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox One or a PS4. So the validity of this plot leak comes from the fact that it is very, very descriptive, and everything involved in this plot leak makes perfect sense for the direction of the movie. So we'll go over it in its entirety and then we'll break it down. So it starts off by saying, Christian Bale is playing the main villain, Gorr. In this version, Gorr is an alien whose race was slaughtered by Hela. He blames the Asgardians and, after years of searching, retrieved the Necro Sword to wipe them out. Thor is having intergalactic adventures with the Guardians of the Galaxy when Gorr attacks and wounds him, then announces that he will kill the remaining Asgardians on Earth. Thor goes there to protect them with Rocket and Groot. When he gets to Earth, Thor can't find Gorr, so he's forced to ask Jane Foster for help. Gorr's sword is powered by dark energy, and Jane might be able to trace it. Jane Foster is now working for SWORD, the Sentient World Observation and Response Department, and director Abigail Brand is not happy when Thor shows up needing help. Thor, Jane, and Abigail Brand go to New Asgard, where they reunite with Valkyrie and a time-displaced Loki, who ends up a prisoner there after whatever happens in his spin-off series. Along with Loki is a new, time-displaced Mjolnir that doesn't answer to Thor because it's under a different spell. When they get to New Asgard, they find out that Gorr tricked Thor into leading him to New Asgard and destroys it with his army of shadow berserkers. During the chaos, Jane wields Mjolnir and fends off Gorr for the time being. Abigail Brand places the Asgardians under SWORD's protection at an outpost near a small town in Oklahoma. Thor trains Jane to control Mjolnir and they reconnect. Valkyrie and Abigail also develop a bond. Loki ends up escaping and he joins forces with Gorr to use Jane's research on dark energy and harness it through the Necro Sword to defeat Thor. Dark energy has time-altering properties that Loki wants. This all leads to a major battle between Thor and Jane against Gorr across time and space, while in the meantime Valkyrie and Brand lead the Asgardians and SWORD in a battle against the Shadow Berserkers to defend Earth and humanity. During the battle, Rocket and Groot must deal with a dark energy singularity that Gorr creates before it consumes the planet, and Loki pursues his own agenda during that time as well. Gorr is going to be mocap, or motion captured, but his pre-Necro Sword form is going to be human looking, aka Christian Bale. The dark energy mutates him and he becomes a monster and gets more monstrous as he absorbs more of it. Abigail Brand is the other major role left to cast. Marvel Studios is looking at actresses like Jodie Comer and Vanessa Kirby for the role since the character is supposed to appear in several movies just like Nick Fury. In the film, Rocket and Groot are supporting characters. The rest of the Guardians, Star-Lord, Drax, Mantis, and Nebula, are cameos. There are some talks about having them join in the final battle of the film, but nothing is final yet. Gamora won't show up in the film because her story is reserved for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Thor: Love and Thunder is set to have the same comedic tone as Thor: Ragnarok. The idea is to leave the door open for Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman to return for more, but also wrap up their character arcs in case they decide to stop after this. Gorr is going to kill either Korg or Meek during the attack on New Asgard, but he hasn't yet decided on who. Korg would definitely be more impactful, but he likes playing the character. And that's it for this plot leak, and there are a lot of things that we need to go over here, a lot of things that connect to the comics and connect to the future of the MCU. Let's start off with Christian Bale playing Gorr. Now, a lot of people have expected Gorr to be the main villain. As far as the Thor storyline goes, he just makes perfect sense. And if this leak ends up being true, they really are going to stick pretty close to his origins in the comics. In the comics, Gorr has a pretty tragic backstory. His wife dies and his children die as well. Gorr's entire race worships the gods, but when Gorr loses his family, he claims that they cannot be real or else they would help him. Gorr is then exiled and cast out. While exiled, while walking through the desert about to die, two gods fell out of the sky. A dark elder god called Null and a gold-armored purple-skinned god. Realizing that gods did exist but didn't answer his prayers and help people, he vowed to go out and kill them all. Null had a dark necrosword which Gorr would take from him, and this would become the all-black necrosword, and it would have the ability to kill gods. Now this is his origin in the comics, and as you can see from this plot leak, they're going to remain pretty true to it. Hela, who is a god, is supposed to be responsible for killing all of his people, so therefore he will vow to go and kill all the other gods. Asgardians specifically because Hela was an Asgardian. So Gorr is going to get the Necrosword and then head to Earth. Now it also says that Gorr is going to be a motion captured villain, which makes a lot of sense because that's actually Christian Bale's preference. And playing Gorr actually makes a lot of sense for him as well because he has already said that he doesn't want to be in a film that's going to require him to commit for several different movies. He pretty much said he was done with that after filming Batman Begins, Batman the Dark Knight, and Batman the Dark Knight Rises. So a villain that is motion captured and only in one movie is perfect for him to play. So it says the film starts off with Thor having intergalactic adventures with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And since this film is supposed to have the same tone as Ragnarok, we can imagine it's going to be pretty hilarious. And of course, this is where the movie is going to start because at the end of Endgame, Thor left with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Gorr will then find Thor, and he'll attack him and wound him and then head to Earth for New Asgard. Because remember, Gorr is vowing to kill all Asgardian gods. Hela killed his family, so therefore in return he's going to kill all the Asgardians. So he finds Thor, wounds him, and then heads to Earth to kill the rest of them. And this is how Thor goes back to Earth and Rocket and Groot as well, as Vin Diesel has recently confirmed that the Guardians are going to play a part in Thor Love and Thunder. Now there's a few key parts here in this plot leak. One is him going to Jane Foster because of dark energy. We all wondered how Jane Foster is going to re-enter the picture, especially after Thor was pretty upset about her in Avengers Endgame.
Are you crying?
No. Yes. I feel like I'm losing it.
Get it together. You could do this.
But he's going to go to her for help, and she's going to now be working for Sword. Now, Sword was introduced, kind of, at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Nick Fury was on the peak. Not to mention, we also have confirmation of Sword from leaked photos from the set of the WandaVision series. And Jane Foster was working with S.H.I.E.L.D. before, so it would make sense that she could just go over to Sword. And this brings in Abigail Brand, who is the head of Sword. Now, what's really interesting about Abigail Brand is that she is actually a mutant. She has the ability of pyrokinesis, meaning that she can create and control fire. Now, it's unclear on whether or not she's going to be a mutant in the film, but considering the fact that Kevin Feige has announced that the X-Men are going to be coming to the MCU, and if they're going to introduce Abigail Brand as the commander of Sword, it just makes sense that she is going to be a mutant. So a mutant will be in Thor. And then after they go to New Asgard, which was a trap by Gorr, Abigail and Sword are going to protect the remaining Asgardians. Another huge thing is Mjolnir being brought to the current timeline by Loki. This is something that we knew was going to happen. We've known it for a while, but we were confused as to how Loki would be able to bring Mjolnir. We expected that somehow along his journey he would become worthy to lift it, but this plot leak claims that there is a different spell on it, and the worthiness spell is not enchanted on it. Now, it doesn't say what this spell is, but whatever it is, Jane Foster is able to lift Mjolnir and use it to fight off Gorr. And that, combined with training from Thor himself, Jane Foster will become the female version of Thor. And this answers the question that we've all been wondering as to how Jane is worthy enough to lift Mjolnir, but also how she comes to be in the position. Now, Loki escaping and joining forces with Thor is typical Loki. Because we have to remember, this is not the same Loki who died in Avengers Infinity War. This is 2012 Loki. This is immature Loki who hasn't gone through all the things that he went through in the current MCU timeline, and he's still pretty much not necessarily evil, but definitely an anti-hero. And just like he joined forces with Thanos in the past, he joins forces with Gorr in the current time. Now, it says that Gorr is going to have his Berserker army, and this is also something that comes from the comics. With the all-black Necrosword, he's able to create these Shadow Berserkers. And of course, it's Marvel, we're going to have a big army fight at the end of the movie. But this won't be the main battle. The main battle will take place between Thor, Jane Foster, and Gorr. and their fight is said to take place across space and time. This is directly from the comics as well. In fact, Thor teams up with other versions of himself to kill Gore, and that's basically what's going on here. Another version of Thor is Jane Foster Thor, at least as far as these movies are concerned. And then, like I mentioned before, you have Rocket and Groot that are going to be along for the majority of the movie. The other Asgardians of the galaxy are just going to appear in the beginning. So, let me know what you think about this plot leak. If this ends up being true, would you be okay with this happening in Thor Love and Thunder? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe with notifications turned on to stay up to date on everything relating to the MCU. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.